One. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Command Your Confidence. This is your channel for guys to help them develop mindset, lifestyle, fitness, and have them evolve into their best selves and everything. And so today I have on with me Ryan Fowler. How you doing from Inner Masculine?
Hey, what's up?
What's up, man? So today's topic is we're gonna just be talking about improving your mindset and everything for success. Before we go into the show, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We got a lot more great interviews coming up. I'm actually starting another series where I am going to be working on my goals and mindset as well, and documenting that and adding this to the channel. So you guys don't want to miss out on that. So please subscribe below. And so let's get into the topic today. So we want to talk, Ryan, before we go into everything, tell us, everyone, what it is you exactly do. You do like hypnotherapy and stuff, and you help them like get rid of like trauma and unwanted mindsets and stuff. Go more into detail about that.
Okay, so yes, I am a hypnotherapist. I've been doing it for a few years. Actually, been doing it on myself and close friends for about 8 years, professionally for about 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I am all about clearing toxic shame. I'm all about reprogramming how you feel about yourself and your amount of self-belief at a core level. And I did that to myself. I used to have manic depression. It's cured. It's gone. It's been gone for a long time. I searched for years and years to find a solution that would cure my manic depression. And when I found the solution, it worked so well and so quickly and so powerfully that I had to share it with others. So I took training and then put my own spin on things. And I now do that for others. And so many people struggle with toxic shame, which is they don't feel like they're good enough, or they don't feel they're as good as others. They don't feel they can get what they want. Maybe they feel there's certain things they want that are not right, that they're wrong for wanting certain things. Maybe they feel disempowered, powerless, or just not accepted for who they are, or they don't know how to just unconditionally support, accept, and believe in themselves and believe that they are good enough just as they are. I help with that. I get that down. I clear that trauma out at a core level, and I replace it with self-belief and belief in one's value at a core level, so that deep down you feel that.
Mm-hmm. So you were saying that a lot of
changes everything
that you help. They just don't believe they deserve anything, or they can't have this or that. What do you think? What causes that, and how can that keep them from getting ahead with their goals that they want to achieve in their life and building the right mindset to do it?
Well, it all starts at a young age because that's how our brains develop. When we're young, we're born into this world. We have a little, as babies, as children, we have a little bit of instinct. We know how to pee, poo, laugh, cry. But we don't know much beyond that. So when we're young children, our brains are not designed for us to go through the world constantly microanalyzing everything around us to make the correct decisions. A lot of what we do is on autopilot. And it's much more convenient that way. We're designed so that our conscious mind can focus on a few things, and then everything else is automated. We don't have to think about breathing or our heart beating. If we are used to driving a certain route every day, it's kind of on autopilot. We just automatically do that. But there's also certain behaviors and beliefs about ourselves that are on autopilot that are just kind of there. And we may not even be aware of them, or we're aware of them, and we don't know if they're negative habits or belief systems. We don't know how to change them. And that's where I come in. But where it all starts is we're born as babies, and besides instinct, we don't know anything. So our subconscious mind is where all this automatic programming gets put in. And as a child, we're observing everything in the world around us, trying to figure out as a baby, as a child, how do I survive in this world? What do I need to know in order to survive in this world? And we're trying to figure out, who am I? What's my value? What's my mom like? What's my dad like? What are men and women in general like? What are other people like? What parts of the world are safe? What parts are dangerous? And so based on what happens to us as a child, we are drawing conclusions as a child as to what it means. What does it mean when my mom and dad keep yelling at me or whatever it may be? What does it mean when I'm bullied? How do I react and cope and survive, from that in the future? So at a young age, by the time we're age 8, 75% of our subconscious programs, these core beliefs about our value and how we navigate the world around us, 75% of that is written by age 8. 95% is written
Oh
by.
wow, that's crazy.
What's that?
So that's crazy. Like how at such a young age, pretty much like how we are. You said our most of our blueprint is mostly written out for us by the age of 8 or 9, whatever. I think that's what you said, and pretty much that's how our belief system works. That's throughout our lives and everything. So that's just at a young age. It's just like wow, that's right there. And I mean, I can see that too. Kind of like maybe that age limit going further, maybe onto like your teenage years as well. But no, I can see from your perspective, what you're talking about, like how, when we're young, we map out this blueprint of the world and everything, and how we're supposed to, believe and think, feel, whatever. And yeah, that pretty much, that pretty much like carries through with us as we become adults and everything, and it can make it challenging to kind of change a certain mindset or break a bad habit, something like that, right?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple examples of how I've seen this play out in clients' lives. So, for example, I had a client who every time he got in a situation that made him a little nervous or anxious, he would feel cold. He would feel physically cold. And he wasn't sure why that was. And when I first started talking to him, I always talk to a client for, usually an hour and a half, couple hours before the session to really dive deep and, get the lay of the land as to what their upbringing is like, what they struggle with now. And so I thought that was very interesting before we did our session. Why does he physically feel cold anytime he feels stress or anxiety? So in the session, we went back to the first time he felt that way, and it turns out the first time he felt this anxiety and stress, he had cancer as a child, and he remembers being on a gurney, being wheeled into surgery to get a tumor removed from him, some cancerous growth, and all he had on was this, the surgical gown and nothing under. So he's naked beneath this thin sheet, and he was cold. He was physically cold as a 4 or 5-year-old child. And the stress and anxiety and fear that was with him at that time was also associated with being physically cold.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the first time he felt he was maybe in danger or at risk. His brain internalized the cold feeling with that. So now anytime he feels stressed or anxious, he feels physically cold as an adult. So we actually cleared that. He doesn't get cold anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that started when he was 4 or 5 years old. He had this belief, I'm going into surgery, it's dangerous, and everything associated with that just got wrapped into this belief, including physically feeling cold as a child. He felt it as an adult. So these, when we're children, we have things happen to us. We interpret them as meaning something. So maybe your mom or dad keeps criticizing you and you try and please them and make them happy, but maybe you get bad grades and you try and get better grades, or maybe you even get, instead of getting C's, now you're getting B's, and your one or both of your parents are still really disappointed in you. And so you can form a belief on that, which is I've had, there's one, I do sessions for men and women, more men.
Okay.
There's a girl who always got criticized for her grades, and so she had a lot of anxiety around school, even as an adult, in college and whatnot. And that's just because her belief system as a child was grades were very important, and no matter how well I do, it seems like I'm not doing good enough. So she had some toxic shame. Okay. And it all starts with these interpretations we form as children. When we're younger, our subconscious mind is like malleable, soft clay, but it hardens over time. And then it's just this static thing that's down in our subconscious that gets triggered by external events that correlate to this subconscious belief. And so these negative subconscious programs can plague us for the rest of our life unless we go in and actively reprogram them. And that's what I do.
Okay. So are you saying too, so say we want to work on like on a business venture or something, or like, for, the guys who coach probably help, be more comfortable approaching women. So all the stuff from their childhood that, even that carries on to other areas of their life as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
Do you want me to talk about approach anxiety? That's a good one.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's go into that.
So I help guys with approach anxiety and have a lot of success with it. I've had several men where I ask them, okay, you see a beautiful woman, what is your level of anxiety if you want to approach her? And they'll say 8 or 9 or even 10 out of 10. And then I do a session for them, and the next day they say I approached a girl and my anxiety was a 2 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
So what did I do? Number one, what is going on? Why do guys have really high approach? Some guys, some more than that. Everyone has a little approach anxiety, but some have much higher approach anxiety than others. So what is going on? And then what do I do to fix that? Well, when we are young, we're trying to figure out what are men like, what are women like. It's not always the same thing, but I'll tell you what it most commonly is. When we are young children, we idealize our parents. Now, maybe after age 6 or age 8 or whatever, maybe we decide our parents are jerks and we stop idealizing. But when we're really young children, we idealize our parents. We believe our parents are wise and strong and, very capable. And by idealizing our parents, we feel that they are able to take care of us. And we then feel safe as children because we know we cannot take care of ourselves. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to figure out, well, my mom is going to be the ideal woman then because I idealize my mom. And this is not across the board, but it's very common. If you have a mom that makes you feel bad or who constantly criticizes you or does things to make you feel very insecure, then it's very common for when you see a attractive woman, an ideal woman in today's world that you want to approach, mm-hmm. Your subconscious is going to say, here's an ideal woman. Well, what is my subconscious program about ideal women? Oh, it's this woman, my mom, who is constantly criticizing, rejecting, making me feel bad. I was never good enough for her. And so this original program of what ideal women are like, based on your mom, and again, this is one of several programs, but this is the most common one associated with approach anxiety, not the only one. Mm-hmm. You're going to have the same feeling about this ideal woman you see now, this attractive, woman that you're idealizing as a man and wanting to approach her. That's why you want to approach her, because she seems mm-hmm. ideal. She's very, what's that?
Can I say something for a second?
Sure.
Yeah, now that we're on this. So, for a guy too who may have the mindset that because how things are in society, everyone's like all into the social media. They got to focus on being like a celebrity or a pop star. Mm-hmm. Do some guys kind of feel for the same reason? Is that when they aren't able to live up to that expectation? I mean, does that cause approach anxiety, and then does that anxiety still tie into the way the parents treated you when you were younger as well?
Yeah, so some form of toxic shame is what's behind approach anxiety. Every case I've handled, mm-hmm. which is toxic shame. If we believe deep down, I was never good enough for my mom, and furthermore, if you have a very critical mom, you think, well, I won't be good enough for this woman, or she'll reject me, or she'll be critical. This woman will be critical of me just like my mom was, and I wasn't good enough for my mom, and I won't be good enough for this woman. Well, if you have this feeling deep down, I'm not good enough for an ideal woman, it's a painful belief. Mm-hmm. And what happens in the world is if you approach a woman who then rejects you, she's going to confirm this deep down belief that you're really not good enough for an ideal woman that started in your childhood. And again, this is one example of what could happen. I drill down and I find out exactly what is the root cause. More often than not, it's this. It could be something else that causes mm-hmm. approach anxiety. The the reason we get anxiety if you see this beautiful woman is because our brain is designed to steer us away from pain. Our brain is designed, we have evolutionarily evolved psychologically for our brain to make us want to avoid pain.
Yeah, we want to be in
Brain
that comfort zone.
What's that?
I said we want to be in that comfort zone. Your brain wants you to be in that comfort zone. It wants to be safe and everything. So
We want to be safe and comfortable, yes. And if we have a feeling deep down of this, this woman's just going to reject me, and when she does, it's going to hurt like hell. Or it may be a belief that, well, I'm going to beat myself up if I'm too much of a coward to approach her. But in any event, if you see this attractive woman and your brain associates approaching this woman with the potential for feeling pain if she rejects you, or you beat yourself up because you even if you beat yourself up just because you don't approach her, in any event, our brain wants us to avoid this whole situation if it associates the potential for pain with this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so what our brain does is it gives us anxiety to get us out of any situation our brain perceives could lead to pain. So if you see an attractive woman, if you have this belief deep down you're not good enough for her, and if she rejects you and confirms this belief, it's going to spike a negative emotion all the way to the top where you're going to feel like, crap.
Mm-hmm.
Our brain doesn't want you to feel that pain, so our brain gives you anxiety, and that's our brain's way of getting you to just get out of that situation and avoid approaching her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what approach anxiety is. So what you do is you connect to the original trauma of, I'm not good enough for an ideal woman, or whatever it may be. It could be other things. And we use we get to the root cause. And in hypnotherapy, we get that trauma out of you. I speak a language in hypnosis that your subconscious mind naturally understands. We send it out and we replace it with a belief that I have, for example, a common belief I put in is I have value no matter what. I unconditionally have value.
Mm-hmm.
And my value is not connected to whether any particular person accepts or rejects me.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
Me doesn't mean I don't have value. And so now when your feeling about your value is not coupled to whether or not this woman approves of or rejects you, then there's no more pain agent there. There's no more possibility for pain, or it's at least way toned down.
Yeah, I hear you.
And so your brain now does not have to give you anxiety to avoid pain because there's no pain there, because rejection now doesn't hurt anymore.
Mm-hmm. So you kind of want to because you want to disassociate that value, because you're putting value on like a lady and stuff, and that's causes that anxiety. So
oftentimes men feel that if this woman validates and accepts me, then I'm worth something, but if she rejects me, I'm not worth something.
Mm-hmm.
So if we take that traumatic belief and get that out of you and replace it with a belief that you are worth something no matter whether she accepts or rejects you. And this is at a core level. This is not cognitive. Mm-hmm. And there's many men out there, people in general, who may tell themselves, well, hey, this woman, she could have a boyfriend already. She could just be really busy. I could be as attractive as hell, and she's still going to reject me just because she has other stuff going on, which is true.
Mm-hmm.
But you tell yourself that, you see an attractive woman, you still want to approach her, and you still have massive anxiety. Even cognitively, you're explaining this to yourself. You still have anxiety. Why? Because it's not a cognitive conscious belief that's causing your anxiety. It's a subconscious feeling that forms this toxic chain of some sort forming here in your childhood, down in your core, in your subconscious. It's not affected very much by these analytical, logical, conscious thoughts.
Okay.
You got to clear that out at a core level. Now, you're always going to have a little approach anxiety because a new woman is unfamiliar, and our brain gives us anxiety around unfamiliar situations.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I said, the anxiety, I've had guys 10 out of 10 anxiety. The next day, 2 out of 10 anxiety. They approach the girl. They got the number.
Because I don't know, because it's weird, because some days I can go approach a lady. I don't think about it. I just do it. And then I have my days where I analyze it. So I feel like I go back and forth sometimes. Is that common? Or because you said that anxiety is always there. It comes, what I'm saying?
Yeah, it could just depend on how you're feeling about yourself that day. If you're in a day where you're not feeling as confident because of some things that have happened to you, then your how would I put it? Maybe you've had a day where you just brought in a big project and made a bunch of money, so you feel on top of the world, and you're like, man, I have value, I'm doing great. And then approaching women is easy. You're in a good mood. Something else happened that day to give you value, but maybe something happened that day that knocked your confidence down a bit. And so then you see an attractive woman and you're like, yeah, I don't have I'm not feeling good about myself today for whatever reason. And so I don't want to approach this girl now. I have anxiety now because I'm already not feeling that great. And then if she rejects me, I'm going to feel really bad about myself. So you get anxiety. That could be it. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that applies to you?
You know what? I would agree though, because I mean, when I'm on a good day, like when I'm, feeling good, energized and stuff, and when I feel like I've accomplished something with my business, I can do it. But some days, like, maybe I was this girl I was hanging out with for a while and everything just all of a sudden disappeared and like, oh crap, kind of puts me in a down mood. It's like, well, I don't want to go out there.
Are you saying she ghosted you?
Yeah, she ghosted me.
And how does that make you feel when she ghosts you?
Well, it makes me feel, I get puzzled, like, it's like, it's because it's surprising too, because like I didn't see it coming.
Yeah. But what do you just feel confused and that's it, or is there anything else there?
Well, it could, getting back when we're talking about the value thing too, I kind of like, oh great, kind of like lost a little. I felt like I lost a little value because this girl's gone. Because when I had her, like it made me like energized. I got the girl. I'm getting laid, having a good time. And I feel like I did it. But then when she disappears, that value kind of goes away, and I kind of like think, oh man, what's wrong? And I kind of do think this, like, man, what did I do? And I kind of like think about like,
what did I do? It couldn't be her. What did I do? Just like when I say we're kids and we idealize our mom when we're young, you still have that same mindset. Here's another ideal woman. I idealized my mom when I was young. That's my original program. My mom is the ideal woman. So I view other ideal women as, well, if they reject me, it must be something I did.
Oh, wow.
And that's your subconscious program right there, formed in childhood, manifesting today. So I see these patterns all the time. And what we see here is if you feel like deep down when, now again, I haven't talked to you enough to know if this specifically applies to you, but if you're like, man, when my mom rejected me as a child, I interpreted that as I'm not good enough, and that feels terrible. So I got this subconscious belief down here that if a woman rejects me, I feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you see an attractive woman now in this world now, and your brain says, hey, if this woman rejects him, he's going to feel that same terrible feeling when his mom rejected him. I want him to avoid that pain. I'm going to give him anxiety. Now, if you happen to be feeling on top of the world at the time and you feel pretty confident anyways, maybe enough that you can shrug this off and still feel okay, then you'll have less anxiety that day. But if you're already kind of, you're having a day where you're already not feeling super duper good, and this feeling of I'm not good enough is like closer to the surface, and 90% of men have this, by the way. Most men have this at least a little bit. It's not a black and white. It's not like you either have it or you don't. Some people have it a little, and some people have a massive amount. I had it a massive amount.
Okay.
So we get rid of this belief that if she rejects me, it means I'm not good enough. We get rid of that. We get that out of your core so you don't feel it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll make your anxiety go way down, because now there's no pain that will happen if a woman rejects you. You're like, hey, she rejected me. It's all good. I know I still have value. It's all good. You feel that way at a core level.
Mm-hmm.
And if you feel that way at a core level, your anxiety is way down. There's no more pain to avoid, other than we are naturally wired as men to get a little approach anxiety, because we evolved in these tribes, and maybe you approach the tribal chieftain's girl and he kills you. So if it's an unfamiliar woman, you're gonna feel a little bit of anxiety, but we can get it down to a pretty small level, by getting rid of all this toxic shame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It's just so amazing how the subconscious mind has that powerful effect over us and everything.
Toxic shame just applies to so many things. Guys will procrastinate doing certain jobs because they think, well, if I do this wrong, I'll get yelled out by my boss or I'll feel bad for failing. So they'll procrastinate doing certain tasks.
Yeah, you want to hear something very interesting now that you bring up the boss. Well, like I started back when I lived in Michigan. I actually worked at a library for about 15 years. Part of my high school and most of college and a little bit after college. And like I had one boss, man. He every time I made the littlest mistake, man, he always shame me for it or yell at me. And it's weird because when I fuck up, like when I'm working on a client's project or doing something on my job, that same guilt and shame comes back.
Yeah, that sucks, man. But yeah, so it's important, if others' criticism will do that to you, we should remember to always be kind to ourselves and encourage ourselves. And just remember, criticism or shaming or punishment gets you to not do something, avoid doing something. It's at best, it's a dirty fuel to motivate you to do something. And more often than not, it makes you procrastinate stuff or avoid stuff. So don't criticize yourself. You always be your own cheerleader to kind of egg yourself on. But also, let's get a good belief system in you that feels good, not this bad belief system that will make you procrastinate, avoid. Yeah.
Exactly. So how can someone cheer themselves on if they're get them out of a slumber? Do they want to do affirmations, meditation, just kind of do it like a gratitude journal? I do when I get in a slumber, kind of a funk phase, I either do meditation or I just kind of remind myself too of all the accomplishments that I've done in my life, just to kind of be like, well, hey, you're on the right track. It's not as bad as you're thinking. It's just like your old negative subconscious trying to take control of your mind. And it's just you kind of do that just to kind of gain back control, because you're right though, the subconscious does have a powerful effect over us.
Yeah, and let's talk about affirmations for a moment. I think affirmations are great, but a lot of people don't understand something really fundamental, which is our subconscious mind. You can think of it as a type of container, if you will. And if this container is full of tar and negative, bad programs, you can try and do an affirmation, which is like pouring clean water into that container. But if it's full of tar, there's not very much of that clean water that'll get in. Just the other day, I was talking to a guy who said, I stand in front of the mirror. I tell myself I'm awesome and I'm great. And he says all these affirmations. I say that I'm successful at my job, et cetera, et cetera. And he says, I feel it's fake. I feel it doesn't resonate with what's inside me. It's bouncing off. I don't feel it sinking in. I feel myself saying, nah, this is BS. So the thing many people don't understand is affirmations work best to affirm a positive belief already in your core. How do we get the positive belief in your core? Well, you first have to clear all this tar out of your subconscious. You got to clear all this negative crap out. And that is what hypnosis, especially, my methodology, is really good at, is getting this bad, I'm not good enough, I'm no good, I'm a loser, I'm a failure, whatever it may be. And maybe it's just a small I'm not good enough. Or maybe it's like I absolutely hate and loathe myself and I'm totally worthless. Maybe it's extreme. But we first have to get this out of your subconscious to create space for these affirmations to go in. We got to clean out this container full of tar if you have negative programs down in your core. So we not only get the negative programs out, but then in hypnosis, we put positive programs in. And how life works is if you have a program, let's say the program is, I'm good at web design. I'm an amazing web designer. Let's say that program's in your core. Then you love to web design, because anytime you design a website, that affirms that you're a great web designer. And that feels good. And our brain is designed to motivate us towards pleasure and get us to avoid pain. These feelings down here, anytime there's something in the outside world that is a match or that confirms these feelings, these beliefs, the feeling associated with the belief gets triggered and gets spiked to the surface. So if you have a good belief in you, like I'm a good person, and then you say to the mirror, I'm a good person. You do this affirmation, it spikes that good feeling, and it gets you roared up to kick some ass that day. But if you have a negative feeling in your core and you say, I'm a good person, for some people it might help somewhat. But for a lot of people who don't feel very good about themselves deep down, and then they say this, they're going to be like, they don't feel authentic saying it. They don't feel like it's a match for them. It doesn't sink in, or maybe it sinks in a little, but it sinks in way better once you get this toxic crap out of you, and you basically build this core belief that you have massive value and you're destined for greatness, or maybe it's just, hey, I have good value. I have something to offer the world. You get that feeling in your core. Then these affirmations are going to be triggering that because it's a match. The affirmations are a match for what's inside of you. And so it triggers that good feeling when you do affirmation. That then empowers you. And that's where affirmations work the best, to affirm what is already inside you.
Okay. So it just kind of brings back affirmations, just kind of remind you of what's already inside of you, right?
Yeah, affirmations are a great tool, but they need to be used in the right context. And a lot of people do affirmations by themselves without clearing out the negative programs in their core. And affirmations are much less effective in that context. You get the bad stuff out of your core, and then affirmations will reinforce the good stuff in your core and bring that out, and then magnify your efforts by bringing out these good beliefs that are already down in your core.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Now, what about like I don't know? Can you also like after someone has done a hypnotherapy session, and they see these negative mindsets coming up? Can they have like is it good to like maybe sit back and just be like, when you feel like these negative emotions coming up, to kind of like take a deep breath and just kind of be present and realize that, hey, this is real? Or do you encourage them to like amplify like the feeling? Like, how would you have them deal with that if they're?
Well, you want to connect to them for sure. It sucks to connect to them because it doesn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
But when I do a session for someone, we have to connect to the bad belief, the bad feeling, which isn't fun, but we only have to connect to it for a moment. We get your subconscious mind focused on the bad feeling, so we can then tell it to leave forever, send it out forever. And my sessions give 90+% of the time, 95% of the time, give people permanent substantial benefit. The only time I cannot benefit people is if they cannot connect to the negative feeling. So if you go through your day and you feel something uncomfortable, you can pause for a moment and say, what is this feeling? What is it about? Where do I feel it in my body? Sometimes just by connecting to it instead of running away from it, you feel better. Because you're acknowledging, and then you can treat yourself with kindness, and that can help somewhat. But so many people spend all their life or most of their life running away from this painful stuff inside of us. People become drug addicts, they become alcoholics, they binge on TV, they eat a ton of food and become morbidly obese, or overweight, just whatever. And they're all just running away from these painful feelings down based on these, toxic, negative core beliefs. But the key is to connect to them. That's number one, but you also need to know how to clear them, and that's where I come in. But it's the more awareness, and the more you are connected to this, then you can just clear it out way. You can clear out way more. So you do want to connect to it, and if you don't know how to clear it, you can at least connect to it and then treat yourself with kindness, and that will work way better than just running away from the feeling, and drinking a ton of alcohol or whatever to drown it out.
Yeah, because you're trying to repress it by doing alcohol.
Repression and antidepressants numb you out. Now, I'm not a medical expert. I'll never tell anyone to take prescription medication or to not take prescription medication, but antidepressants don't cure your toxic shame or whatever's down there. It just numbs it out.
Yeah,
I've done a lot of those too. I haven't been on them in decades, but
But if you're doing alcohol, like to kind of like repress or numb a feeling, wouldn't that like make it worse?
So with a lot of people, they keep pressing their feelings or running away from it, and the feelings do tend to get worse and worse and worse until finally it's so bad, then they get help. And that's why, drinking, like someone who has a drinking or drug problem or whatever, over time it can get worse and worse and worse, because the more you run away from what's inside of you, the more this feeling inside of you is like, hey, someone acknowledge me. You're like running away from part of who you are, and that part is like crying for relief. And you may not know how to, heal this this toxic shame or whatever's in you that's causing you to hurt. You may not know how to heal it, so you just drink to numb it out. But what's really going on is the more you ignore it, it can get louder and louder until it gets so bad. Then you're like, okay, I'm going to go to AA, or hopefully you can go to a therapist. People who come to me, we go right to the core and we heal that. We get it out. Mm-hmm. And I've had people who are alcoholics, and they do a session and they're like, geez, I haven't. And I talked to them a week later, and they're like, I haven't had I hadn't had a drink anytime this last week since you did the session. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, because instead of running away, we went inside, faced it, and then got it out and showed you how to love yourself. Mm-hmm. It can help with so many things. All this stuff people do is to numb out pain that they feel inside, addiction and whatnot. It causes so many destructive behaviors.
I know, and it keeps us from moving forward.
That too, absolutely. I cured my manic depression with this. My income is more than double, way more than double than what it used to be.
Well, hey, I was
you get more power.
I was listening to you speak on a webinar the other night, and you had mentioned like ever since like you kind of like did the hypnotherapy or for yourself, or you saw like a change in your life, right?
Oh yeah, that's why I learned this, because I was in a lot of pain and I used it to clear my pain out. Mm-hmm. And the pain, it wasn't just getting rid of the emotional pain, not feeling very good about myself, but it was about replacing it, belief that, wow, I have unconditional worth. I don't need to do or say anything for my worth. I just have worth just for who I am. I'm worthwhile. Mm-hmm. I have massive value just for who I am. And when you feel you have value, regardless of whether you succeed or fail, trying something and failing is just, Thomas Edison said, I haven't failed. I've just learned 10,000 ways it won't work. The Thomas Edison quote. You get a belief like that in you that, hey, if I fail, it's just a learning experience. Everyone fails. Failing means I tried. If you keep trying, you eventually gain more skills and power, and you eventually find success. So it's part of the life of the path of progress is trying stuff and failing from time to time. So
definitely agree with you on that one. I've been through doing a lot of challenges for myself in my life. I'm still not where I'm at, but I know the more I keep on going forward, and I'm saying I try, this isn't working, that isn't working, or this girl isn't liking it, the more I just keep on going, I see myself kind of moving ahead.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want to give up.
If failure doesn't mean if you're a good person, even when you fail, then you no longer fear failure. Mm-hmm. And you no longer get stuck by fear of failure. You just try stuff and you just kick ass.
Yeah.
And when you fail, you're like, I learned, it's all good. I still feel good about who I am.
Uh-huh. But why do you think
so you move forward more, and you get more done, and you get more successful.
Yeah, that's true. Now, why do you think it is that some people like do let failure take? Why they like to try something after a period of time and they give up? Like, is this again tied to like a childhood type of trauma that?
They give up because failing hurts. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if failing hurts, if you believe that failing means you're not good enough or no good or worthless. And many of us, were interpreted as a child that when I fail, it means I'm not good enough. If something happens to us that makes us interpret that meaning and internalize that meaning that, hey, if I fail, it means I'm worth less. Now you're going to fear failure, because if you do fail, it's going to hurt.
Exactly. Yeah. I try to, when I do kind of, sometimes I go through like a period where, I'm still trying stuff. It's not working out, but I think to myself, like I reframed the way I look at failure. I look at everything now as a learning process. Yeah, it does suck because I mean it's it's a trial and error. And eventually you'll find someone you can just keep on pushing forward. But I've had some instances like beforehand, like I would automatically like think, well, okay, well I approached like 10 girls this week, or I reached out to 10 clients. I didn't get anywhere. Oh God, I'm going to be stuck in the same place forever. The end of the world is near. But I had to learn to like reframe that because like, honestly, when I get
Say you have not yet learned how to reframe it?
No, I've learned to reframe it as like a learning process.
Okay, cool.
And I've worked with a lot of and I learned that from like a mentor of mine. Mm-hmm. And really opened my eyes as a way to like look at failure, like because I used to like think, well, failure to me, I see like all these people have successful businesses, and I'm doing the steps that they took, but I'm not getting there. And I used to be like, oh, this isn't going to work out. And I had to eventually say, well, hey, it's a process. You got to try new things. You got to, kind of see what's going to work for you and what's not going to work for you. And then the same goes when you're trying to like, meet women. I mean, heck, like right now, it's like I got so much shit going on in my life. It's like, if a woman rejects me, yeah, it kind of sucks for her. But I think too, well, I'm working on something better for myself.
Okay, yeah, cool, man. That's a good way to be. That's a good belief to have.
Exactly. It's just like, I don't know, like my dad always like turned me on to this self-development stuff, like a lot of self-development. What do you think of like self-development stuff, like, books?
If it's good, then do it. I think we should constantly be trying to improve and develop ourselves. Some self-development programs are very helpful and some are not. Try to find the ones that are the most helpful. Mm-hmm. And, I'm putting together a hypnotherapy self-development program just to educate people on how their mind works. It's probably still a couple months away, but I'm big on helping others develop. And I already have a day job that, I have a 6-figure day job. I just do out of my home. But I do hypnotherapy as well, quite a bit, because it is so massively helpful to guys. You get this should be your how you believe about yourself and how you feel about yourself should be the foundation upon which you build your success and happiness. Mm-hmm. And I've helped guys build this foundation and just see massive results. Mm-hmm. There was one guy, he did one session with me, and he went from living with his parents at home, sales force of 200. He was second from the bottom. 5 months later, he was number 7 from the top. And he attributed it to the session. We got a belief in him at his core that he was worth something and that his worth is not tied to success, but that he is meant for success. And it's just a matter of putting one foot in front of the other and doing the work. And success, is eventually guaranteed. But even if it's still in these learning experiences, it doesn't mean you don't have worth. You have worth now. You are worth something now, regardless of your success. I interview him 5 months later, from second to the bottom out of 200 to number 7, top 3.5%. It makes a huge difference. And that's one of many examples. I had another guy. He had a job making 120 grand a year. He felt he was being underpaid. It was a highly skilled job, but he never felt good enough about himself to ask for a raise. Well, did a session, interviewed him a few months later. He was now making 200,000 a year because he said, I realized these guys didn't value me, and I found someone else who was willing to pay me 200,000 a year for what I do. So I made the change, and it's because I felt I was worth more. Mm-hmm. And we don't understand, so many people don't understand that how we believe about ourselves has massive, absolutely massive life-changing impact on what we do and where we go in life. And, a good documentary I recommend everyone see is Tyson. It's about the life of Mike Tyson. You can buy on Amazon Prime. There's a YouTube clip. His coach, Cus D'Amato, the Cus D'Amato Philosopher's Mindset. That's a YouTube clip talking about Cus training Mike. And when Cus started with Mike, Cus was constantly, you're the best, you're the greatest ever. You're the best. You're a champion. You're going to beat every guy in every fight. You know, Cuss was constantly telling Mike at 12 years old, when Mike's subconscious was still somewhat, you know, moldable, telling Mike he was the best, greatest ever. He got Mike Tyson to believe that. This documentary, Tyson, or this YouTube video, the Cus D'Amato Mindset, it's on YouTube. It's the one. It's 27 minutes and like 35 seconds long. It's that one. So it talks about, you get this mindset where you believe in yourself and you believe that you're great, and your subconscious program in your core is now going to propel you to success. And I've used that on myself, and not only success, but it feels good. It feels, you know, it's a happy feeling.
So a lot of our, just like the success of what we produce in the outside world comes from within. It's all like how we believe about ourselves. So if it's if we're not thinking like we can't do it, or it's too hard, or you're gonna say, even though you're working on it, you're going to produce crappy results. You got to think like big time, right?
Well, really, you just got to go after what you want. Some people I don't want to become the greatest boxer in the world. I don't want to become like Arnold Schwarzenegger, the greatest bodybuilder of all time. That's not me. You know, happiness is feeling like you're worth something unconditionally, and accepting who you really are unconditionally, knowing yourself, believing you can get what you want, and then going after it and pursuing it. That is happiness.
Mm-hmm.
You do all that, you know, you feel good about yourself, you believe in yourself, and then you go after what you want. You don't go after what someone else says you should want. You don't go after, oh, I'll be good enough once I make my first $1 million. There's so many people who have achieved fame and riches and then were miserable and killed themselves.
Mm-hmm.
There's Marilyn Monroe. There's Robin Williams. Owen Wilson, famous actor. He had an attempted suicide. He was in rehab. But he's an A-list actor. You know, there's so many examples of people who are, you know, famous and successful and miserable because they think, if I achieve this outside stuff, then I'll be good enough. No, you get happy now. You embrace your worth and embrace who you are now. And then you go after what you want. And if what you want is to surf every day on the beach, and that's what you want at your core, then, you know, as long as you're able to have a side job to pay your bills, then go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you'll become the greatest surfer ever, or surfing champ, or maybe you say, hey, I don't care about that competition, but this is what I really want. You go for what you want.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us want to achieve things as men. Not everyone. You do you.
Mm-hmm.
And you have value now even before you're successful. You know, Harlan Sanders founded Kentucky Fried Chicken at age 62. He wasn't successful until age 62, and then he founded a multi-billion-dollar restaurant chain. You know, he always had value. You know,
so the key is you just got to have value. You can't you
got to believe you have value.
You can't let external sources like the real world determine your value as a person. Don't
let the external world determine whether you have value or not. And when I do sessions for people, I teach them that they can give themselves all the self-approval, self-love, and self-validation they need, so they don't need it from anyone else. And that is what's called, you know, a 0 F's given alpha male. Doesn't need validation from anyone. If someone disapproves of him, no big deal, because he already approves of himself.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a true success story. You get that feeling in you, and then you believe you can get what you want, and then you go after what you want.
Mm-hmm. And so as you know, guys or women who you gotta internalize that your self-value,
absolutely.
So it's maybe having an awareness, maybe some hypnotherapy to replace that trauma.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do, and it's the most effective way by far to do this that I've seen. There's nothing even close that I've seen.
And how do you think that's an effective? Just because it kind of allows you to go into see what the cause of that is, and then the person has an awareness of that, and they're able to amplify that feeling and just go like that? Or
are you asking why hypnotherapy is effective?
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. I just kind of wanted to hear your take on it.
So hypnotherapy works directly on your subconscious mind. Now, I'm not going to say there's no place for traditional psychotherapy, because there is. But let's say you have a feeling deep down you're not good enough. Well, you can go to a traditional therapist and talk all day about that. Or you can do a program where we directly go to this core feeling deep inside you in hypnotherapy. And in hypnosis, we speak a language your subconscious mind natively understands, to say, this feeling you have deep down here, send it away forever and put this other feeling in. We're working directly. We're not traditional psychotherapy. It's all cognitive. You talk about stuff while you're conscious. You're up here. You're in your cognitive mind. The issue is down here. When people feel anxious, where do they usually feel it?
I don't know, like in their stomach area.
Yeah. If you feel anxious, usually in your stomach. Is your stomach up here?
No.
Oh, the issue is the feeling down here, not your 2 + 2 = 4 brain up here.
Mm-hmm.
So if you work, this is connected to this, but work where the issue is. Yeah, you can. I did psychotherapy. It was helpful. It took a long time, but it was definitely helpful.
Mm-hmm.
What I do goes straight to the source. Now, the reason hypnosis works is our conscious, when we are young, our brainwave frequency is actually at a lower frequency than when we are older. And our cognitive mind, our analytical, logical mind, is not fully developed until age 8. Our cognitive, analytical mind, combined with a higher normal brainwave frequency, interferes with our subconscious mind being reprogrammed. When we do hypnosis, we actually take you back to the state that is similar to the state your mind was operating at when you were a child. We make your brainwave frequency lower, like your brainwave frequency was when you were a young, impressionable child. And we also, in hypnosis, you're still conscious. I interact with people. I ask them questions. They give me answers. They remember the whole session. They're totally conscious. But this analytical mind, which acts as a filter and which can reject things that you are being told, we quiet that down. We put that off to the side. It's still there. You're still conscious, but we put it off to the side so it cannot interfere with the work we're doing. And normally it can interfere.
Mm-hmm.
So we keep it from interfering, but then by also putting you in this very relaxed state, which lowers the frequency of your brain waves, we put you at the same brainwave frequency you had as a child, where your subconscious mind was as soft clay, not the hard clay it is, hardened pot it is as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
So we make your subconscious, by doing this, it just has the effect of quieting down this filter or this gateway that can reject and keep out, good suggestions. We quiet that down, put it to the side, make this your subconscious programs like soft clay again by putting you in this relaxed state, lowering your brainwave frequency, same frequency as a child, a lower frequency, and it makes you more malleable. And now we can work on this soft clay again, and your subconscious mind has its own set of rules. It has no recognition of time. Your subconscious mind is when you dream, that's your subconscious dreaming. So your subconscious understands certain images and symbolic imagery. A lot of our dreams have symbolic imagery. They represent, I remember once I had a dream where I had a lot of stuff going on in my life, a lot of stuff to do, like almost too much to do. And then I had a dream that night that I was in a car and it was going too fast, and I pumped the brakes and the brakes don't work. And that's just that's my subconscious saying, hey, I'm getting out of control in my daily life. That's dreams like that, are very common as like our subconscious processing and saying, this is how the subconscious is processing, how it interprets what's going on in our daily life. So we can speak a language like that your subconscious mind natively understands. When it's in a rested condition where it's able to be worked on with nothing interfering, and where it's malleable and impressionable again, and we can just go right to that subconscious mind and reshape it directly. We don't So many people are working on things connected to the subconscious, but that are not the subconscious. Affirmations. You're fully conscious when you're doing these affirmations, and you have this analytical mind. So you say, I'm a rock star, and your analytical mind says, no, you're not. And it will reject that statement. Or, oh, I'm an amazing person. And your subconscious, if you have toxic shame, your conscious mind is like, no, you're not. It keeps that from sinking in.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to get that out of the way. And you also got to get this conflicting feeling. If you say I'm an amazing person, but you got this toxic shame out inside we haven't cleared yet, we need to go into hypnosis and clear that out. Tell your subconscious to send it away. And that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, man.
I have so many guys, one session. One guy couldn't sleep for 5 years because of some trauma he had. I did one session, then he slept like, he wrote me the next day. He said, I slept like a baby 10 hours last night, and it's been 5 years since I've done that.
Uh-huh.
And his sleeping problem was pretty much solved at that point. I mean, just so many examples like that. It's so gratifying to do this for guys and men and women, and just see massive change in their life. It doesn't mean I cured everything about, that guy who had sleeping issues, but that issue, which was a big one for him, one session cured it.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Well, yeah, man. I remember I did a session with you too, and I kind of felt like a difference after our session.
Yeah,
like,
nice.
I mean, I kind of seen some improvement. Like I'd say, like it was actually like a month after. I just kind of seen a lot of improvements in other areas of my life. So
it can be subtle sometimes, but then after a while, you're like, wow, things are different, and it's permanent difference. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird because like sometimes I will be, I just might just be sitting outside getting some fresh air, and I think it's weird. I go back to our session because I remember when I had my aha moment about it. I just think about that. I was like, oh my god, and I'm just kind of thinking about that. Because I think it had something to do with I guess feeling guilty about like being myself and something about just kind of being myself, and we trace that back to like a childhood thing that I had when I was younger and how I got shamed for that. And I was always when I was always being myself around my mom. My mom's always like, you can't do that, or you're when I was doing artwork and everything, she always made some joke about my artwork.
Yeah.
Some subtle joke, right? Right now, she's cooler now, but it's
it was how she was when you were a child that had the most impact on you, not now.
Exactly. So like it's kind of interesting. Is able to just kind of trace all that, like that blueprint, just figure out like what the heck was causing all that.
Yeah. So the reason I'm doing putting together an educational program now, and anyone who does a session with me now, they get three or four self-hypnosis audio recordings that they can use to build on what I've done. But there is a need for me to really expand that for people. So I want to do a session for people and then have tools that they can use to just massively build on what I did for them and clear other stuff out too. So this educational program I'm developing right now, that's what that is for. And I'll be sure to give you a copy so that you can build on what we did with your session.
Okay, great. That's awesome, man.
That's my biggest complaint is guys come back to me, men or women come back and they say, I definitely feel better from your session. I'm doing better here and here, but I got these other things. And, where do I go from here? And some people do multiple sessions. But there's so much you can do on your own you don't need me for, and it would cost you a lot less. And self-hypnosis audios are just educating yourself how your mind works and how to influence it and heal it. There's so much value you can just give to yourself and so much healing you can do for yourself that you don't even need me for. And sometimes, like right now, I'm only booked out, 3 weeks on sessions, but there's times where I'm booked out 2.5 months on sessions. So if someone gets a session and they're like, well, I want another one, it's like, you got to wait 2.5 months. So that's why, I'm doing these self-hypnosis audios, more of them than I already have for my clients, is so that they can keep doing the work and, I can help more people.
Yeah, exactly.
I cured my manic depression just listening to self-hypnosis audios before I even had anyone do a live session for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny though. So I think you gave me the copies of those videos. I think on the Dropbox you gave me those.
Yeah.
Copies. And one thing I told you, I have them on my desktop. I have to move them into my iTunes playlist so I can listen to it on my phone. And like I'm going to be doing like a separate thing on this channel where I'm going to be kind of setting challenges for myself, and I'm going to be documenting these challenges. Just to kind of hold myself accountable, and kind of hope by doing this, it inspires other people to hold themselves accountable to work on.
Good deal, man. Get your tribe of accountability tribe.
Yeah, right.
Buddy or tribe mentor, whatever. It's great.
One of my things that I'm probably going to do for one of my accountability videos is like get in the habit of listening to those hypnosis videos.
Yeah, man.
Not videos, but audio clips that you sent me.
Yeah, and I really want to expand on those audios. So when that comes out, I'll give that to you because it's going to educate you how to use the audios as effectively as possible as well. Mm-hmm. But they help now, but I really want to expand on that. So that's my big thing now. I actually have an intern helping me put everything together now. So it's coming.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So anyways, before we go, I want to thank you for coming on the show, and like maybe like later on down the road, I'd like to have you on again, and we can do
another. Thank you, Robert. I see your dog.
Yeah, I know. She does a good enough the session soon. So let people know where they can find you.
www.innermasculine.com. Just all one word, inner, INNER, masculine.com. Or you can email me, Ryan, RYAN, @innermasculine.com. I'd say, you could just go to my website, watch my video off my homepage about toxic shame. That gives a half an hour of education on, what toxic shame is, how to clear it, and how hypnosis works. So that could be a good next step for people willing to educate themselves a little further. And if they like to book a session, or even if they just have, I'm telling people if they express interest in the educational program now, they'll get a discount. If email me now when it comes out, they'll get a discount. But even if you just have a question, shoot me an email. I'm happy to answer questions. If it's an hour-long question, well, they'll have to schedule a session. But anything 10 minutes or quicker, I'm happy to help out. And no charge. So I'm here to help guys, men and women, but I help more men, inner masculine. There needs to be more guys helping other guys out there. There's a big need for that. So that's why I cater to the men. And thank you, Robert.
Oh, yeah, you're very welcome. And I want to thank everyone who came on and joined us on the stream. Be sure to like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. I'm gonna have Joe from Proud Masculine on next Sunday. So you don't want to miss out on that. And like I said, I'm going to be doing these accountability videos. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Command Your Confidence.
Thank you.